Deploy recording.
Hey, what are you doing? You're doing your eyelashes.
I'm curling them. I looked like I had bald eyes.
You look bald. Okay, ready? Do you know which one's which?
No.
Okay, so the light blue line is waves. That's the waves one. Red line here, that's the UAD one. And the green is the real one.
Okay.
The real one. So currently we're looking at linear analysis. We're going to look at how it affects amplitude across the frequencies. So EQs is what we're going to focus on.
So these are all in their default position, or are they in the off position?
So the thing is that with the UAD one, if I switch it to off on the preamp, it seems to bypass the EQ completely. Even though there's an EQ switch here, if I switch it in, it doesn't do anything. Even if I crank this up.
Using that saturation knob is required. Use the EQ.
The preamp, it looks like it. This is all off, EQ's off, and as soon as I switch it to like unity, immediately, so just turning this on, basically, looks like there's a roll off in the low end. As soon as you turn it on, EQ not in, boom. There is technically a high pass going on.
So what do you have the Neve set to right now?
This Neve?
Yeah.
Nothing. They're all set to just run through signal. In all three of them, the EQ is technically not switched in. Now, in order to match the amplitude here, I had to set it up on its line setting here. So there's probably some harmonics technically going on and push up a tiny bit of output gain just to match it. All right. So it's the same level, so it's easier to see. So what we're going to do, let's just go in order of left to right. So we'll just do waves, then UAD, and then the hardware. Let's just switch in the EQ and the waves. It didn't look like anything changed. No, nothing changed. But also the bands are disabled here. One thing to note with this waves thing here is this high band has an on-off switch. That's not available on the hardware. I can't technically switch this band out. I can't turn it off. When I turn this off, that's actually the high pass filter. So you can see on the UAD and the waves, there's a separate blue knob. In this, you can see there's only 3 knobs, and the blue is it's kind of 2 in 1. So it's your high band, your high shelf at 12 kilohertz, and then that's your high pass filter here.
Right. So it's just okay.
The thing unique to the waves is you can switch out the high band. You can't do that on the UAD or the real hardware. In order to compare with the other ones, let's just switch in the high shelf. We can see that there's a 0.5 dB bump at around 1 kilohertz just by switching that in. So UAD, let's switch in. The overall level went down a bit. So that's interesting. Just by switching in the EQ with these bands disabled, the level went down like a touch. But look what's actually still the highest amplitude across this line.
The same one.
It's around 1 kilohertz with the waves one. So if we push up the output, see how it matches up. Pretty close. It's approximate. So let's reset this output. Let's do the hardware.
Yeah.
EQ in. How did that change? I didn't see it. So the high, looks like the high roll is starting to roll down a bit. Now, the other thing with that is, again, this high band, you can't turn it off. There's also not really a center detent. I tried to center it best I can, and it might look like, oh, well, maybe you just need to push it up a bit to like account for that. But if I push it up, see, it doesn't really, it still kind of rolls down. So we're going to leave it centered. It looks like there is a little bit of kind of shaping here. The level went down a touch. So it looks like the most accurate one so far, I would say, is the UAD. Look at the hardware. It rolls down differently, but it has the roll off down to 5 hertz.
Yeah, at the high end, it's looking really similar.
Yeah. Look at the waves. Flat, flat.
Yeah.
And then there's that 1 kilohertz bump.
Yeah.
What's next? So I guess we'll switch in the midband for each of them.
Yeah, why not?
So waves, this is set to 0. Switch it in.
Didn't do really anything.
Doesn't really seem to change anything. Okay, well, there's not much to say there. Let's do the next one. Let's do the UAD. So we'll just put it to the 1.6 kilohertz, kind of the centered frequency there. Oh.
Whoa.
See that again?
That's huge.
It's a pretty big difference. Yeah, so it kind of bumps up the high mids. What if I change the center frequency? Okay, so even with this at 0, just switching into a specific frequency, it seems to bump wherever you're switched at by like a dB. It actually looks like it's a little above that. So this is centered at 7 kilohertz. And 7 kilohertz is actually about here, 7.2.
Whoa.
So that is here. So a good rule of thumb to remember, I guess, with this is even with this at 0, just switching into a certain frequency, you do get a little bit of a bump. Oh, we got to do the hardware one.
Yeah.
Let's switch it in. Yep, there's a little something. So this is centered at 1.6. So that's different than the UAD one. And of course the waves, we already remember did jack shit. So here's the UAD again. Here's the difference. And then the hardware. The hardware's flatter than the UAD one. I mean, once again, that was modeled off like a vintage thing. So it could be like, there could be that. It's just going to be different from this one.
All right, cool.
Let's do
The low.
Let's do the low band. So waves, low band.
Whoa.
Okay, that did make a change this time. It made a cut at like 360-ish by just under a dB, like 0.7, 0.8. All right, UAD, we're going to keep it in the center, so 110.
Whoa. Oh, it made a little boost around like 150.
Does it bring down that high, this bump here?
I'll check. Yeah,
It does a little. It kind of flattens it out a bit. But look, here's the thing. What that leaves remaining is a little dip around 360-ish.
Yeah, which is the same as the waves one.
Yeah, look at that. Okay. Hardware. Whoa.
What did you do?
I just switched it in.
What? You just turned it on?
Yep.
That's like a 2 dB cut.
Seems to start around 600. It rolls down gradually. It starts to flatten out a little bit around 150. The other thing with this is that, once again, these aren't like stepped or anything. They're just kind of like rah, 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 rah. So I've centered it visually here.
Yeah.
Which is probably what you'll do. Like, you're not going to be using this in Plugin Doctor every day. This could be like misaligned, really.
Right.
These are all like handmade, right? So this could be a little off. Not that AMS Neve does a lazy job. They're like incredible. And I'm sure that their tests and their tolerances are insane. But, you know, this could be a little off. I don't know how old this is, really. I mean, I'm not the first owner or anything. So let's turn this up a bit. Oh, that flattens out.
Yeah.
So if I actually put this low band up a little bit, look, it starts to be almost like a median between the UAD and the waves one at this point, aside from the high and low thing with the waves. That is interesting to know with the hardware that I had to boost that a little bit. Should we flatten it out or should we leave it? I don't know. Because it could be my particular unit. I'm going to go ahead and just leave this as an observation. I think that's honestly a more fair comparison because that could just be this unit. It's just something that we can move forward and just be aware of that happened. So what's next? The high pass. So waves first. Let's enable it.
Whoa.
There we have it. That's pretty fucking on point. 50 hertz. That's very steep. I'm surprised. Hold on. Did it affect?
Nothing else, really.
It kind of rolled down, kind of does like a little...
Okay, let's do the UAD one. 50 hertz.
Same exact place.
That's pretty accurate.
It's the same slope.
In fact, if we do this, we can see how similar it is. These are so close. I'm excited to see if the hardware is going to land there. Let's do it. Hardware.
Whoa.
Whoa.
There you go.
Yeah. Look at that. Okay. Let's do a high pass next stage. Let's just go through these a little quicker. Let's do 80, 80, 80.
Okay.
Okay. They stay pretty centered on the same frequency. Okay. 160. 160. That's a big difference with the waves here, how it's going down. 160 on the hardware. The UAD still is looking a lot more close than the waves. Okay, last one. 300, 300, 300. There you go. But once again, we're also just basing the assumption that this is a little off. Let's put it back just to see. Oh, it actually doesn't seem to make that big of a difference anymore. Yeah, so it's not that. It just seems that the waves is a little wonky. So let's turn off the filters. Okay, mid boost. Let's just pick like, okay, hold on. Let's go back. Let's do the waves first. So let's go to
1.6 kilohertz.
in the waves one, we get a number here. See, it says 6.3. Let's see if that's accurate. So that says 7. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Oh yeah.
It's 7. Okay, let's try to do like, let's do 6. And then so let's just visually look at where the knob is pointed. So it's about halfway. Let's try it. Let's just do the UAD. So let's switch this. This is switched in. Okay, I'd say that looks pretty similar, like the position. Should we go for the hardware now?
Similar.
Okay, it is pretty similar, yeah. This is the first time that the waves is actually more accurate.
Yeah.
it looks like. Even on this lower end here, aside from our low end here. Go waves for that one. Okay, let's just do a few others, like maybe one more. Maybe let's do like a cut at like 360. Maybe that's something people do. That's like a muddy area. I mean, I probably wouldn't use this EQ to cut it personally just because I think the Q is a little too wide, but some people might do that. Okay, waves, let's go to 360 and cut. Let's cut 3 dB. Okay, boom, that's what it looks like. UAD. Cut, see if we can match it. Fairly similar. It seems like the UAD is a touch higher. Okay, hardware. Waves is closer this time. Look at that. But they're all pretty similar. Now, this is a little different.
Waves is closer, but the shape is better with the UAD.
Okay, so a common trick with the Neve that people like to do is to high pass at like 50 or 80 waves first. And then what people like to do is they'll do the high pass and then they'll boost the low end. You can go to like maybe 60. And it kind of gives that like the boost and cut trick with the Pultec where it boosts like really low and then cuts some mids. Let's do about here. Let's do UAD.
Whoa.
That's pretty different. Oh, wait. I have it at the different center frequency.
Oh,
there we go. That's better. Okay, so that's centered at 60 with the cut at 80. Let's do hardware. 80. Boost, boost, boost. So they are pretty similar. Look at the UAD, actually. That's impressive. Let's do 50 hertz on the filter. 50 hertz on the filter. 50 hertz on the filter. And go to 110. 110. It's a little more similar. Just a different version of the same thing. Again, the UAD looking a little better. Just a little better. What's the next thing we can do? Let's do a smiley curve. And we'll do a high pass at 50 hertz. We'll do a little shelf. We'll do a boost in the high end. And then we'll do maybe again that cut at like 360. And then the low end, we'll do a little bit of a boost. So this looks drastic, but the difference here is negative 4 dB. So it's about in the ballpark of 4 to 5. This is about 6 dB from the lowest point to the highest point. Okay, let's dial the same in with the UAD. I'm going to try to match it based off the waves here. Okay, I can get that pretty close. Cool. Okay, let's do the hardware. 360, 50, 12 kilohertz boost. Cut at 360. And we have the shelf here. Let's try and match it a little better. Impressive. Again, UAD a touch closer. I mean, this is like 12 kilohertz, 16, 20 kilohertz. So, I mean, if you really think about it, EQ change-wise, we're not looking at saturation here at all. The waves might sound more exciting. The very airy range remains a little bit higher. But they're actually all performing pretty well here. The UAD looks like there was a little bit more attention to detail.
Yeah.
Is it going to make or break the mix? No. My personal opinion is that with things like this, what's getting you EQ-wise, not like necessarily distortion-wise, we're going to see that after, but EQ-wise, what's getting you some of what that Neve sound is where they chose to center the frequencies, what options they gave you, what the Q sizes are. Is it a wide Q? And then how does this band interact when you cut this one and when you boost this one? You're not going to go in Pro Q and make this curve, likely. You're probably going to be whatever. I think that a big part of it is what options they gave you, where they lay them out, how it works visually, and what decisions you will make when you're using an EQ like this. I think that's a big part of it. So when it comes to the plugins, they'll get you in the ballpark. And I don't know, people can agree with me or disagree with me, but I think it makes complete sense. They'll get you in the ballpark, even the Waves one. Like the UAD is a little more attention to detail, but use that information with what you want to. Okay, let's look at the saturation.
You're going to get more views now. You're welcome.
I'm going to blur that out in the video and just keep it there. Let's do our baseline here at negative 110, maybe. Let's start with the EQs switched out. Then we'll move in to switch them in on like kind of a default setting. We want 100 hertz at negative 20. We'll go to the first stage of mic gain for this. Whoa, 100, 200, 400, 600. So the waves are just by default just got some even order shit going on. Let's check the UAD. Okay, so we have a little even, more odd, a little even, more odd, a little even, more odd. And then, you know, we got some shit going on. The difference in volume here, negative 3.5 to negative 97.
What?
Okay, but if I remember correctly from the last video, this is a lot more accurate to the hardware than what we just saw with the waves. Okay, let's crank some gain. Let's push it up to about halfway. Let's do like...
There's some monitor harmonics coming in now.
There are some, yeah. They look very like... They're very like linear. They just go down. Look, even these two. It's almost like I could draw a straight line here. The loudest harmonic is the first even at 30 dB below. 30 dB below this. Okay, next. Whoa. That's pretty wild. That's a big
Put them back
difference.
together.
So, okay, here's something that we're seeing here. It looks like when you push up with the UAD one, it doesn't seem to compensate the gain as much. Because look, this is plus 10 and this is minus 20. That's a 30 dB difference. So it seems like the waves one, look at the fundamental. The waves one compensates the output gain. How about with this? Even with the drive option, which we'll get to in a minute. The waves has a compensated output gain. The UAD one,
not so much.
But the UAD one, okay, so we can see the tops of these harmonics here are really not changing balance. I just wanted to make sure that moving this doesn't change the balance of the harmonics.
Yeah.
So what we can do to get a better view of what's going on here is balance the level of the fundamental. And then, yeah. So someone paid more attention to detail. I have a guess as to which company it was, but we're going to find out when we enable the hardware, I guess. I guess we'll have to just wait and see. So let's dial this up and bring this output down.
Whoa, that's really close. Just do a little AB. I want to see it back and forth. That is really close.
Let's do full blown. Let's do it. Okay. This is at negative 35. We'll stick to negative 35 for now. There you go.
Wait, try the waves with the drive first. Oh.
So, oh my God, look at the aliasing. How about this one?
There's a bit you can see kind of at the top. Like you can see the humps, but it doesn't.
Well, yeah, it does that, but the hardware one did that last time, and I thought it was aliasing, but someone said in the comments that I was stupid head, even though we told them not to leave any comments.
Yeah, what's that about? So many people have comments.
Anyway, don't leave a comment. Okay, so, all right, well, we're massively driven. Rang. Oh, the noise floor. We need to increase the level of the source signal. So let's put it back to minus 20, I guess. I'll have to readjust these. Look at the aliasing.
20 hertz on the waves.
That's crazy. Oh, the UAD's aliasing, though, at this level. Look.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, again, there's no oversampling options in these plugins, so that sucks. I'm going to do the bass guitar, and we'll see how this actually sounds, but later. Okay, full-blown hardware. Get over here. What if I do 20? This weird humps thing going on here. Yeah, I guess it's not aliasing. It's just crazy how it looks like so perfect. Okay, well, this is full-blown death. Wait, we did have one last thing. We're going to reset the EQs to default kind of settings. We'll leave them band switched in at their their natural kind of resting frequency here. Okay, last test. We have all three of them back at our setting of 45, kind of just like an easy mid setting. I've dialed the inputs. For the waves, I had to dial it way up, and the UAD down, and the hardware, the output trim, I had to dial it down so that the fundamentals are at the same level. The bands are engaged. High pass is off. Let's switch in the waves, see if it changes anything. Doesn't really seem to change much. Okay, let's try the UAD. Not much has changed. Okay, hardware. Nothing much going on. Doesn't seem to really affect it. Okay, conclusion with Plugin Doctor here. The UAD is a lot closer. It would be nice if either of these plugins had oversampling options, because when you do use it to the point of total full-blown distortion, there does seem to be some aliasing. This stuff. The only other last test that we have to do that'll do separately from this is see how the drive sounds on an actual real source. I'm going to run some stuff through it and do some audio comparisons, and then, yeah.
Transition.
All right, so here we are on to the listening test. Now that we've seen what's going on in Plugin Doctor, let's do the more important test, which is how they sound. The first test I've got here is a vocal from a song called Hash and Coffee that I recorded with a local band called Lint, who are awesome. This has been one of my favorite songs in the past year, so it's not out yet, but whenever they do decide to release it, you gotta check it out. Now, this audio file was leveled out with some clip gain and has a little bit of compression on it, but there is no EQ going on. So at the very top, I have the vocal with no EQ at all, and then I have 1073A, B, and C. The EQ settings for all three are exactly the same as far as the high-pass filter, the mid-band frequency, and the low-band frequency, which are selected as you can see here. I dialed those in by ear to get them as close as I could for each of the EQs. The volume levels are also matched as close as I possibly could. First, I matched the sample peak values exactly, and then I did some fine-tuning by ear as some of them were still sounding a little louder than others, even though the peaks were reading the same. This is as close as I could possibly get them. Okay, so let's take a listen. First, no EQ, and then onto 1073 ABC.
Floating higher, levitating, reaching new states of astral projecting. Floating higher, levitating, reaching new states of astral projecting. Floating higher, levitating, reaching new states of astral projecting. Floating higher, levitating, reaching new states of astral projecting. But I don't remember taking anything. What does your saliva contain? But I don't remember taking anything. What does your saliva contain? But I don't remember taking anything. What does your saliva contain? But I don't remember taking anything. What does your saliva contain? Are there psychotropic properties that keeps me coming back onto my knees? Are there psychotropic properties that keeps me coming back onto my knees? Are there psychotropic properties that keeps me coming back onto my knees? Are there psychotropic properties that keeps me coming back onto my knees?
Just for one more listen, what I'm going to do now is go from the vocal that has no EQ to 1073A, and then back, and then to B, and then back, and then to C. So you can hear them in contrast with the completely dry vocal.
I see your aura morphing endlessly. I need another hit. I see your aura morphing endlessly. I need another hit. I see your aura morphing endlessly. I need another hit. I see your aura morphing endlessly. I need another hit. I see your aura morphing endlessly. I need another hit. I see your aura morphing endlessly. I need another hit.
Okay, that was the EQ test. Now let's move on to distortion. Okay, so here we are on to distortion, saturation. There's a little bigger of a difference here than in the last test, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Without saying too much, I assure you that this is the closest I could get these three 1073s to sound when it comes to this distortion characteristic. But once again, everything's been level matched to the very best of my ability. Just like last time, on top we have the bass guitar that's not hitting any 1073, and then after that we have A, B, and C, which are in the same positions as they were for the last test. Let's do it. there's one that stuck out to you so far as your favorite, remember what that is now because I'm about to reveal which ones are which. Whether it was A, B, or C, make sure to leave a comment. I'd love to know which one it was and why you liked it. Okay, so here we go. So 1073A was the Waves plugin, B was the hardware, and C was the UAD. It's no surprise after seeing the Plugin Doctor results that the hardware and the UAD were pretty close. Just the last thing I wanted to mention in this video so that you don't have to go look it up is the price points and how you can obtain these things. The Waves plugin, I have it pulled up right now, is showing at $27.99 USD. Sometimes this price fluctuates a little bit depending on the sales they have going on, but it's usually in that ballpark. The universal audio version of the 1073 is a little different. Currently, it's only available natively through their subscription service, UAD Spark. Other than that, you can only run it if you have the Apollo hardware and the UAD DSP version of the plugin. Universal Audio has been releasing a lot of their plugins natively as of recently, so if this is the one that you want, and if I were you, I would probably just hold off a little bit and see if they release it natively. If not, maybe try UAD Spark. As for the hardware, the Preamp module is available for $1,095 US. Same thing with the EQ module, and this is based on the Sweetwater price. So that's a grand total of $2,190 plus any applicable taxes, shipping, that sort of thing. Oh, also, you have to have one of these 500 series chassis to run them in. The price of your chassis depends on how many slots are in it, the brand name, the quality, that sort of thing. The smaller ones can run you just a couple $100s, whereas the more expensive ones with more slots can cost upwards of $1,000. The thing with gear that's unlike most plugins is that you are able to buy it secondhand, you are able to buy it used. Myself personally, I did not pay full price for any of these things that you're seeing. Not the chassis, not a single one of the modules, not my audio interface, not my power conditioner, my speakers, my computer monitors, my monitor controller, headphone amp, MIDI keyboard, that microphone, this keyboard. Anyway, you get the point. If you're going to pick up one of these, I suggest putting it on your watch list on reverb.com and be patient. Personally, if this wasn't my main vocal tracking preamp right now, and I didn't have to have UAD Spark to own the UAD version, I'd be selling this and getting that plugin right away. For one of my next videos, I was thinking about doing the famous SSL bus compressor. I'm currently lucky enough to have access to a couple studios, one of which contains an SSL console with the bus compressor, and the other one containing the 500 series version of the same bus compressor. If this is something you want to see, then let me know and I'll make it happen. All right, that's it.
Peace out.
And there's too much noise, and you turn it up too much, and there's too much noise. What do you have to do? What's the first thing you can do?
Turn it down.
No!
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy. Okay, so,
Lloyd recording.